Wait a minute, you guys. You know what? I didn't turn the live on, so I'm gonna have to do that one more time. It's coming on right now. It's coming on right now. And we got Julie.
Oh,
So
come
hold
with a
on.
better answer.
I'm having all kind of technical trouble, but we're getting it right now, you guys. So I'm gonna have to ask you one more time.
Gerald, can you make me moderator?
Wait a minute. Okay, now we live now. And Marquita, you asking me if I can do what now?
Can I be a moderator?
Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah, how do I turn that on for you? Like right here.
Participants, go up
Okay.
to my name, and then I believe you click more.
Okay, make you host. Okay, got it. All right, so now I'm Gerald Chambers. Tonight, I've rounded up some of my favorite married people to discuss marriage. I want to thank Marquita, who's monitoring the YouTube live and trying to help me as best she can keep this thing going. First, everybody, please introduce yourself and say how long you've been married. Doesn't matter who starts.
My name's Julie, and I've been married since 2005, so that's 18 years.
Right on.
I'm Samantha Wise. I've been married for 27 years, together for 32.
My name is Angela Polk, and we've been married for 23 years.
I'm Frank Hancock. We've been married for 22 years. We've been together 27.
I'm Gerald. I've been married 4 years.
Miracle.
He said 4.
4 years.
My name is Mark Tafoya. We've been married for 9 years, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how 2005 was 18 years ago, because that doesn't really make sense to me. It's like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Maurice. I've been married for 11 years, and we've been together for 18 years, since 2005. Subtract 1, so 17 years.
I'm Chris Gibson, and we've been married for 7 years.
I know. So that's everybody, right? Now, I want to ask you guys a question. Like, what was your life like before you got married? Anybody can go. What was your life like before you got married?
I got a sad.
Mine was rough.
You want to say more about that?
Who, mine?
Yeah, you want to say a little bit more about what your life was like?
Yeah, it was single, living with mama still, and was looking for something different. I had some people that made marriage life look nice, and I wanted to do it, man. And I found a real lady, and she helped me become a husband. I'm talking about, for believing in me. You know what I'm talking about? So that's what it was like.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to go? What was your life like before?
Oh.
I'm Samantha, and I felt like I was missing something before marriage. Like I was like a half of what I was supposed to be. And I think when finding my life partner, I became whole. I felt completed. And so I still had purpose, but I didn't know what my purpose was until we got together. So after we got together, that purpose was fulfilled. We're still on that road, leading to further purpose. But I think I felt like I have a person. I was whole, but I still was at a half, if you guys understand what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm Julie, and my life before I married Danny, I was fighting stage 3 breast cancer. I was going through a divorce after 22 years, and I'd had a dirty needle stick at work in the intensive care
Mm.
and went on the AIDS cocktail. That's what my life was like. And Danny entered it and was my friend.
Wow.
So he would call me every day and ask what he could pray for. And I'd tell him my kids need their dad back. And then I'd say, oh no, we don't need him back. He's horrible. And then Danny asked me out on a date. But we were friends for 4 years. And some of you saw that happen.
Right on. Who else? Who else wants to? What was your life like?
I chime in. Mine was kind of frustrating. I had a child, and the mother of the child was always in my ear. And I remember having to pay child support and just really just getting bombarded. I was at a young age, and it was, I could never saw an end to it. When I met my wife, it was like I had some help. It was like a helpmate, appeared, and she wasn't afraid. But I was able to tell the truth. This is what's going on. And from that point, I got a chance to just be honest that this is what's happening. But a lot of times I was just looking for somebody to be a rider, regardless of whatever my circumstance was. My wife, somebody that was willing to ride, good or bad, and we can grow together. That's what it was like. I didn't have anybody I felt I could grow with prior to being married.
Hmm.
Wow.
Thank you.
Make me not even want to share. I was living a life. I worked for the airlines. I was traveling for free. I was in New Orleans like every other weekend. That was my second home. I mean, I was coming home, didn't have to worry about this or that. I mean, I had my own space. So for me, prior to getting married, life was really good. I was just coming into my own professionally. Things were good. Like, I can't complain. The ability to get up and go when I wanted to and not have to check in or communicate with anyone. I had way more money in my pocket, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, life was good. Not to say that life is not good now, but for me, I really enjoyed the single life.
Mm.
Who else wants to go? Anybody else want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela, and let's see, where was I before I got married? So I think that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be where Christopher was. I wanted to be healthy and thoroughly independent and like really ready for a healthy long-term relationship, but I was not. So I was more lonely. I was raising a little girl. She was like 1 year old at the time. And I had my own apartment and working 2 part-time jobs as an adult teacher, and focusing on building my relationship with Christ, authentic relationship with Christ through fellowship and regular fellowship and study of the Bible, and my husband was a friend since I was 16. We were on and off in each other's lives. The last time I saw him, he made it known that he wanted to, he was looking for a wife. I was at a point where I was ready to stop looking for somebody, like dealing with guys who weren't serious about being married. They weren't looking for that, and I was. And so when I became crystal clear, then he came.
Go ahead, Mark.
I was trying to decide sort of where to go with this. So I'll say this, that I've actually been married previously, and married for about 4 years. And my wife shared basically in some sort of process discovered that she was lesbian. and came out of the closet. And so we went through a process together, and it was really respectful, and like very, she was like very, very reluctant, and that sort of thing. I think it was like basically the marriage kind of gave her a place where she was like finally comfortable enough as a person to kind of let her guard down and kind of like understand herself a little better. And so, that was a hard couple of years, from it. And so I spent a couple of years after that, like really kind of carrying a lot and really kind of like binding everything up in a lot of ways. And so, like the thing that struck me was like, what was my life like before I got married to Lynn? I think there's a way in which I feel like I didn't know what I didn't know. And there's been a lot of stuff that, like, over the course of, our marriage, I think has been kind of revealing and helping me understand, some of that stuff I was carrying, and the way I was sort of like holding myself to like kind of like always bracing against like this, like what happens next, because I felt like the foundation kind of like fell out a little bit. And so like I spent a lot of time sort of in that space, and I think that's what it was like beforehand. I sort of like feeling like I was a little bit in amber.
Man, thank you guys for sharing. Now, me, I was dating, right? I was married before too. I was terrible in the first marriage. I was horrible. It fell apart. I was terrible. And I went through a period of dating and thinking I was a player. And then I started dating longer. And then I got better, man. I watched Frank, I watched Mo, I watched Julie. They've been in my life for a while. I just got better, man. And I felt like I wanted to do something different, right? And I just felt like I was ready to try to be a better person. And we're going to get into that, because my next question is, why did you decide to get married? It's one thing to find somebody. It's another thing to decide to get married. Why did you decide that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Maurice, I decided it because I wanted to be just like you. I wanted to be a good guy. You know what I'm talking about? I wanted to do the right thing under the eyes of God. I wanted to grow up. It's real easy to do a whole bunch of other stuff, do the player thing like we used to do. And I just wanted to be a stand-up dude. And Frank, Frank, I seen him doing it. So it just really looked like something I wanted to do. And the beautifulest thing I want to tell you, my story is that, look, when I got married and when I told my mother that I was getting married, my mama asked me, was I okay? Oh, are you okay? So that's how big my marriage is. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to reflect, because I wasn't really looking to get married, neither was my wife. We were friends, and we were friends without a label. I didn't even want to be called your boyfriend first. Just we're gonna see wherever the label in the relationship takes it, and it's gonna label itself. And so when I got to a place where I tried to figure out which direction, after so much time, I had been dating for 4+ years. We've been living separately. And then
Danny,
we decided, to make a move. And one of the decisions was, I saw that I can be a partner, but it wasn't official. We can live separate forever, and we still would be okay. We still would be friends. But at the end of the day, it takes a risk. I was willing to be vulnerable. I was willing to expose whatever it was. She knew everything now. So now, where do we go from here? And I found someone that I thought I can communicate with, that I can actually have some fun with, that I'm having fun currently. And I didn't think marriage would change who we are as people, and I thought we would be able to grow a step at a time. We were still pretty young, early 30s, so it was good. So forth.
Why did you decide to get married, Chris?
I'll say this, for me, it was time, right? There were some goals that I've set for myself. There were some things that I wanted to achieve and to do before I got married. And I reached those goals. And, once those goals were met, honestly, I just felt that there was, something more. It was just kind of like this internal clock just saying, all right, look, you reached this goal, you're financially set. You're at this time, you traveled, as much as you wanted to, things like that. Now, what about the next steps and the next phases in life, right? Which, get married, have kids, build something, own ownership and things like that with your future wife. And so, it was almost like finding the right woman to settle down with. And when she came along, it was never a second, thought or a second guess for me. The moment that I laid eyes on her, I knew that's who it was. Now, from that time until, 4 years later when we got married, or 3 years later when we got married, that was another process. But for me, it was never a doubt who she was and what I wanted to, do with her and build with her.
Thank you guys, man. But why did you decide to get married?
I didn't want to get married. I didn't want anybody to interfere in my life. I wanted to get through my storms on my own, and I knew how to do it. So Danny didn't even get in the house. My daughter wouldn't let him in the house. She's a teenager. She said he's too weird. I said, why is he weird? Because he shaves his head. No offense, Gerald. And then he says, he's always happy. I go, isn't that wonderful? And she says, yeah, but have you heard him laugh, Mom? He's going to go postal on us. So we were dating, and it was the only person I dated after the first marriage of 22 years. We would go to meetings and then go make out because we couldn't go home. But Danny proposed, and we decided we were so old at the time that we might as well just go ahead and get it done. So we went on a Thursday to the Deeds building and got married.
Wow.
And then my children came around. Danny taught my son how to shake hands, tie a tie, be a gentleman, and he walked my daughter down the aisle.
Wow.
So
wow.
it turned into a beautiful thing. It still is. It has bumps along the way, but it's beautiful.
Yeah. Who else? Why'd you decide to get married, Sam?
Well, as a little girl, I think most little girls have dreams of being married, having a husband, having a nice house with a white picket fence, having someone to make you feel safe, loved, cared for, so on and so forth. And I started dating my husband when I was 22. And I had, we were from the same neighborhoods. We went through the same struggles together. We became friends and we became partners. We were open with each other. I felt safe with him. And as I said, I felt protected. I felt like this man is going to take care of me in the good and in the bad. That's exactly what I felt with him. And so with that, I was ready. It took him a minute to get ready. I think most guys, it takes them a little time to get ready or be convinced that, this is the one. I don't know if it was love at first sight. As I said before, we grew up together. I mean, when I say in the same hood, Hango C, same school, same block. He was doing his thing. I was driving through the spot or whatever. But just, our time together, and it was just cohesive. And it's like, the two became one. We were equally yoked. He didn't have, he had a little more, he had more money than I did, most certainly. But it's just like money wasn't a thing with him. And when it came to taking care of the family and taking care of me, it was like no other. And once he said, hey, let me do this, let's do this, I was like, oh, okay, you talking to me? Because I was ready. I was ready. I had been picked out that dress. You know, I'm not gonna ask him to marry me because my grandpa told me that's not what we gonna do. If he's a man, he gonna make sure he do it right, and he most definitely did it right, and he's still doing it right. So that's why I got married, because me and him, we just clicked. And he fine too. He look good. He's still, you know, I'm still looking at him like, damn. So yeah, it was definitely love, you know, definitely.
Thank you guys. Angela, you want to say why did you decide to get married?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, my husband handsome too, Samantha. So I got married because like Samantha said, you know, I've been wanting to be married since I was a very young teenager. I would read the romance novels and you know, and watch the cartoons where they had, you know, the Cinderellas and so forth. And more than that, you know, I grew up at during a time where there were a lot of family shows and everybody was married in those family shows. You know, the Cosby Show and the Brady Bunch and, you know, the other shows. I think there might be one like What's Happening Now. I don't think anybody was married in that show, but they still had families and they were a community. So, you know, and the Bible taught me that if I wanted a healthy sexual relationship, I needed to be married. And if I wanted to have children with a spouse for life, with a person for life, I needed to be married. And so I believed that. And it was a journey, however, for me to find someone else who believed that. Unbeknownst to me, he was right under my nose. So like I said, I've known my husband since I was 16, but you know, we went different places and different ways. And I saw him again at a singles function. And I didn't have my daughter, our oldest daughter at that time. And he said then, you know, that he wanted to get married. He was looking for a wife. I wasn't into him at that point. It took me some life journey to figure out. I said, okay. It took me some time to figure out what was most important to me. And then I decided that once I figured out what was most important to me, his name popped into my spirit. And so I reached out to him and, you know, and we started dating and we were married 6 months later. So I chose him because I knew he was serious about getting married. I knew what kind of person he was. I knew that he would be supportive of my life dreams. He would be do his best to be a spouse and a partner to me. We worship together. We have this similar religious beliefs. It's never been a problem there. So I wanted a husband who was a Christian and who was serious about his relationship with Christ. And he always has been since I've known him. And I knew that he would love my daughter, who's not his biological daughter. And we have 2 more daughters together. So we have 3 children that we've raised together. And I knew he would be faithful and true, and that he would do his best to love me with a pure heart. So, you know, that's why I chose him.
Thank you. I'm getting to know you guys a lot more. You guys are like heroes and sheroes in my life, man. I'm getting to know you guys better. Mark, why did you decide to get married, Mark?
Sure. You know, I think that coming from the space I was coming from, I think that Lynn was really, really clear that like she was ready sooner than I was. And, you know, she was really patient with me, you know, and like, you know, in that, and, you know, probably frustratingly so, you know, in a way. But I think that like part of what really like made me think about is that she did this kind of like really amazing
Oh my God.
balancing act of like I felt safe with her and also pushed by her, pushed to like do more things, pushed to make myself better, pushed to be more adventurous and more sort of like in touch and things like that. And, I really, and I love the way it felt to be with her. We had a great time doing the boring things. Like we would go grocery shopping and it would just be like a great time doing that, or, just like traipsing around doing errands. I think
did we lose you? Oh, he froze.
adventure and things like that, and so I think just that combination I thought was just really amazing. And I just really, love all the things that she brings, into that space.
Right on. I decided to get married because I knew that I had learned from being around people, Frank and Mo and Julie, that I do better when I make commitments. I do better. Life is better when you commit to something, right? And I learned how to commit to something. You commit to anything, but these guys helped me commit to the right thing, And so I just felt like I was in my relationship, in my marriage, I'm making an amends to myself and my ex-wife and society for the way that I behaved the first time. My first marriage, I just acted so terribly that I needed to like fix that. And I couldn't fix it with my ex-wife. So I'm trying to fix it with the wife that I got now by being just a better human being, man, and fix it with myself. And so I just made a decision, just to hell with it. I'm getting married. And my wife just happened, like Angela said, my wife just appeared at that point as somebody that I felt like we could do it together. And I still feel like that, and we just been keeping it together, yeah. Anybody, did we get everybody? I think we might have lost Julie. I hope she comes back. Okay, I got now the reason why I'm talking to you guys, right, is we're maligned. Married people are maligned on like TV and the media, right? We like don't have it together, we're not attractive, all that, on TV a lot of times, right? But we are the people that keep this whole society together. We raise children, we support our communities, we active, we're doing all kinds of stuff. So I want to make sure there might be people out there thinking about marriage, and I wanted them to see who I feel are some successfully married people. Usually when we talk about marriage, the comedians make jokes, take my wife, please, all that kind of stuff, right? But all of us seem to be happily married. This is kind of rare, right? I'm happily married. That's a miracle. If it's not a miracle, it'll do until a real miracle shows up. Okay, can you guys mute your other mics so we don't get the background noise? But anyway, here's
let me add to what you were just
Chris.
saying, Gerald. One of the things for me, and I found it kind of very strange and odd. I got a lot of married people coming to talk to me about their relationships before I was married. And, a lot of times I would shy away from it because I wasn't married. I'm like, I ain't no counselor. I'm not married. I don't know what you expect from me. And I found out that many of them just wanted to be heard, right? And so listening to a lot of the different things that they were coming to me about, I found out that, hey, look, you got two people that's coming from two completely different ends of the spectrum. One may have had parents who was together all their life. The other may be coming from a single family home. And, it takes time for marriages to gel and to come together. And I mean, just any relationship, right? It just takes time for those type of things to happen. And I think a lot of times, we give up on things way too early because we're still going through the gelling process of putting things together. I'm listening to Samantha talking about they've been together for 32 years, right? Together, like, what type of gelling is that, that's going on with all of that? And she said they still going strong, so just to kind of, excuse me, just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, it's amazing. It is a miracle, but then it's also a process, and it's also work that you have to put into it as well. So yeah, man, I think that's strong.
And you definitely have to put the work in. And what I see in today's society is that cancel culture, right? Nobody wants to stop and figure out, seek to understand why a person did what or why they said X, Y, Z. I'm in it for the long run. We said to death do its part. And when I say I meant it, I meant it. I didn't cough at the altar. I didn't blink my eye because I was really, when I got into this marriage thing, and as Angela said, it had a lot to do with God and, you know, solidifying it. When we were dating, we were kissing, and I call it kissing. We was kissing, and I felt a level of guilt. Like, I'm going to church and he's still laying down. We got to do this thing together. So it's about not giving up on your partner, right? It's about investing in, like you said, seek to understand why a person does X, Y, Z. Because if you seek to understand, then you understand how they think, right? You can get it. It may not make sense, but you can be like, oh, that's why you did that. Because men and women think totally different. Because I was thinking, if we did this, you know, because when a girl do this, that means we go together. But when my husband started to talk, he was like, man, babe, ain't no dude thinking like that. We don't think like that. We just, and that be that. I don't even know people's name. And so I was like, what? How you gonna take somebody and then not know who they name? He's like, man, they think my name was Michael. Michael. And so for me, I didn't get that way of thinking, but that is a man's way of thinking. So I think I took us off our thing. But I was in it for the long haul. I was seeking to understand life, and marriage is not perfect. But I think if you got two people committed to one another, at some point, you're going to love them enough to invest time to find out what's going on and what didn't work and how you can better serve your partner by taking yourself out of it, right? If you take yourself out of it to please them, then I think you're going to go a long way. That's just me.
So this is a good segue, because my next question is, how do you stay married? Chris, you got your hand up. Go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just applauding. But
how you stay married, Chris?
I think for me, it's understanding the things that I do understanding and taking time to understand the things that I don't. Patience, a lot of patience goes into it, and not being so, hurt about things, right? I can't go and act off on my emotions a lot of times. There's some things where, my wife does, and I kind of step back to give myself the process. I know a few people threw out some Christianity. There's a scripture that my former pastor, old pastor before he passed away, used to always talk about. And I try to do this and take this in all of my relationship. But I believe it's in James chapter 1, verse 9, be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. In other words, listen more than you speak, because if you just respond, a lot of times you're going to respond out of anger. You're going to heighten the situation. And so I think for me, it's stepping back. It's stepping back and not giving up. There's been times and moments where, I wanted to throw in the towel. There's been times and days where I was ready to just walk away from, the marriage situation. And, but every night I committed to getting in the bed every night, right? Regardless of what's going on, I committed to getting in the same bed with her and actually communicating and being open and being vulnerable, right? To try to make this thing work, to try to make this marriage work. And so it's a lot of give and take. It's, like I said earlier, a lot of people give up way too soon. And when you go into this, it's not a timeline of 10 years. And then if not, we gonna throw in the towel. It's forever. It's forever. So forever is a long time. So my 7 years, 9 years with my wife is, is nothing, right? So we just have to continue to work it out. We have to continue to communicate. We have to continue to put up with each other's foolishness, because she put up with my foolishness. I put up with hers, right? And
She don't
hopefully,
got no foolishness. She don't got none.
See that too. I got to put up with that too, right? She ain't got no foolishness, right? And I have to be okay with that. So, but it's learning, it's give and take, it's adjusting, right? It's like the it's like the lizard that can camouflage itself, right? You have to become certain things to make things fit and to you know, make things work out.
You know, the only way I can stay married is I got to develop my skills. Can we mute the background? You know, I got to develop my skills. That's why you guys are in my life, right? From the gym to meetings to my next door neighbor. I got to be a better human being, right? I gotta like manage my anger and try to still be kind, even though, you know, we get on each other's nerves. I gotta, you know, I have a good enough marriage. It ain't perfect. It's good enough. I'm hella happy with it though, right? It's good enough, right? I had to learn that, right? It's like some just basic living skills I had to acquire that helped me stay married. Like I can't believe everything I think, right? Sure. I see somebody at the gym and they advertise that they're the solution to my problem. But I gotta like kill my crushes, right? To stay married. Right? The grass is not green, always greener, right? And so it's a lot of little things that I have to do in order to maintain myself, right? To stay married. I think you guys are talking about that. You guys are good at it. You're still married.
And it's, I mean, but you can keep your grass green. My husband always says, if you fertilize it and water it and take care of it, your grass is gonna stay green. Because I mean, he says it all the time. Like if you fertilize it, I mean, and water it and take care of it, it's gonna stay like that. And so
Thank
that's
you, Sam.
With our relationships. We have to invest in our relationship. You have to go out on dates. You have to hold hands. As someone mentioned, I think the grocery store. That's a date to me. Just hold my hand and kiss me when we get in the car. I count that all dates. You know, who you gonna get to the register first? Because he goes down the aisles faster than I do, and I'm walking and waving and talking to people. So maybe Christopher, that's what you mean. Put up with the shenanigans. Probably so, because I'm waving like I'm a celebrity. I'm all in. He's like at the register like this. Man, come on, Sam. Okay, I'm coming. But you know, but I think the most important thing to me about being in a marriage is still being an individual, right? I have to be a separate person from Ed. And then we come together, then we're the wisest. But I think I have my own set of friends. I have my own lane. He has his own lane, and then we merge. Like the highways, like what 24 and 880 or one of those highways that come together. We go down different paths during the day, and we come back, we on Wise Street, you know, but it's just good to be an individual within your marriage. Dr. Angela, what you think? I call you a whole doctor.
Did you call me doctor?
I did. I just felt it in my spirit.
Oh my word. Well, thank you for that, Samantha. One day I will be. God willing. Yeah, so I think that marriage is so serious. It's the most serious relationship that one can have, in my opinion. It's the relationship that has changed me the most out of any other relationship I've ever had, because it's the most vulnerable. I'm naked and unashamed. You know, it's a relationship where I've learned to be okay with my nakedness, to be like unashamed in a way that is like out there, you know, and it's okay. You know, it's the one context where I could be free, you know, inside and out. And it's supposed to be that way because it's a picture of our relationship with Christ, you know, for believers. And so, you know, and so I just, you know, what I've learned about being married, and Gerald, remind me of the question again, please. I don't want to go all off topic. What was the question?
How do you stay married?
Oh, yes. Right. So I guess I'm answering that is my worldview is a Christian worldview, and it's a conservative one. I do believe in staying married until death do us part. So I've taken divorce off the table, right? So whatever we go through, and we've been through a lot together. And he's helped me heal from some childhood trauma, just by being steady and stable, and not abusive to me in any way whatsoever, and thinking about me and what's best for me, at least attempting to do that. So we've taken divorce off the table, right? So it doesn't matter how many financial troubles we've been through, legal problems we've been through, children problems and personality problems, whatever it was, health issues, whatever it is, we've taken divorce off the table for us. And so for me, like Samantha was saying also, I've cultivated my individual self a lot, and my husband's supportive of me. We're a team, right? So he's not jealous of my growth, and I'm not jealous of his. I try to sharpen him, and he tries to sharpen me. And I keep working on Angela. So I don't blame him for my issues anymore. I did in the first few years of my marriage. Yeah, he was to blame, and I was very critical of his issues, right? But like Chris said, we're not perfect, right? I think Gerald said that, others have said that. I have problems. I have limitations, and he does too. And so I've learned to refocus on my own limitations and not make him the issue for my limitations, right? So with that said, I think that's how we have stayed married. We've taken divorce off the table. I've learned to focus on building up Angela from the inside out, and I've learned to have a deep respect for my husband.
So we got a question from the chat. Okay, Mo, here's one for you. What's the biggest thing that you've discovered about yourself through being married? What's the biggest thing you've discovered about yourself through being married?
That I'm really a nice guy. I'm kind of dark because I'm still driving. I just drove on through.
It's okay.
I'm kind of dark. Yeah, because I'm a real nice guy. That's what I discovered. I take care of my wife. I got a good spirit. I love people. God is the head of my life, man, and I act accordingly. What I'm talking about. I'm always thinking about what I should do in his eyes as far as this marriage goes. Because the head tell you to do all kind of stuff. I can't listen to the head. And so I just take care of my wife, man, like God would want me to. So that's what I've discovered. And where I come from, a womanizer and all that stuff. And I found what that Bible say, you found a good thing. I found a good thing, man, when I found my wife. So I act accordingly. Because, I used to talk that divorce stuff when we first started all the time, And, I asked Frank about that when I first started the marriage thing. Because, I jump in and out. And he asked me what does it balance out on the scale? What do it weigh? And it didn't really, it didn't even weigh nothing. And so that's how I ride all the way. The stuff that we go through, it really doesn't weigh nothing. And so why would I do anything different? And my experience from other relationships, my wife loves me, and she has shown that. She has taken care of me. And I'm a little bit older, I'm a little bit smarter now, so I would never throw away the love, man. So that's what I found out about myself. I know the truth. I know what's true, and I know what to lie.
Like one of the things I found out about myself is how happy I can be when I don't get everything I want. Like my marriage is a democracy, right? And the hard thing about a democracy is you don't get what you want, you get what you can live with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I can actually live with what's going on, right? I don't have to get everything that I want. A lot of times when I get everything I want, I'm praying to have it taken away later, right? So I can compromise. I didn't realize, I thought I needed to have everything I wanted. And if the group is more important, the unit is more important. You know, if what's good for the group, for me and my wife, is good for me, right? I didn't realize that at first, right? I learned that about myself. I'm happy to know that too. I don't have to win every damn argument. I don't have to like try to run everything, right? My wife is really smart. I can ask her questions and we can come up with consensus, right? I don't really want to make a decision without talking to her about it. I made a lot of unilateral decisions in the past in relationships that I was in. My way or the highway, I ended up on the damn highway. So anyway, who wants
Well,
to?
I like to chime in a little bit. One of the things that helps me stay married, I think the power of choice, right? We all have choices. And so I have to be accountable for whatever it is that I choose. She has to be accountable for what she chooses. And that gives us flexibility to be who you are individually. And that helps me because I'm a fan of hers and she roots for me as well. And so part of it is really sometimes you can't understand the picture when you're inside the frame. You got to step out and have somebody else look at it. And that's only through exposure and vulnerability. You know, you have to be vulnerable and you have to kind of like let your guards down. And so that's what I learned as far as also one of the, not just so much the successful part, but what would make it not work. And one of the main things that would make it not work would be selfishness. You know, if I'm overly selfish, self-centered, then I have to do the opposite of that, you know, and be more selfless and more giving, more understanding and more open-minded. Another part of it is I'm just looking at it as a journey, and the journey has to continue, right? Based on the fact that the chapters are going to change in this book that we're living. And so at the end of the day, you know, I need to be able to adjust as life is adjusting and moving forward with it. And so we've learned to do that, but yet stay current and enjoying the moments, because moments come and go. And I need to enjoy the good ones, but to embrace the bad ones as well, you know, and the challenges as well. And not run from the challenges, but embrace it and learn from it.
You preaching, Frank. You preaching. I'll put you in a pulpit. All right.
I think Danny and I are a little different in the fact that we're geriatric. Danny's 75 and I'm 69. We're both retired and we're both looking out for each other's health and helping each other find their glasses and their phone. You know, we're lucky that we like the same sort of entertainment. So if I get tickets to go see some music, I know he's going to like it. We binge watch TV and eat popcorn. We're corny and strange. But when Danny and I first got together, you know, we feel like we have special needs now. Danny was a Vietnam vet and he has some PTSD. And I'm trying to be patient and kind and loving about it. But when he can't hear me or he snores and I can't sleep, you know, we've got to get into the solution and fix some of these things. And luckily my career was in the medical field. So man, I can jam right through those lines and get to the front. But Danny and I now, we don't get out and about very often. Our bedtime and our when we get up in the morning has changed. We have grandkids. They love to come over and have special treats here. They think the two of us are great old people. So that's what we're trying to maintain here, is to continue with our life as we grow and change. So that's why we're still married. And I think Frank hit upon it with the communication. You got to be able to talk to each other calmly, not screaming, and explain. You know, after the fourth time I repeated myself and he still didn't hear me, I was frustrated. You know, so those kind of things happen and those are normal in a marriage. not just peachy keen. We have our issues.
I'll throw in a little bit too. I think that, one of the things that I carried into the marriage was, basically like a lot of kind of like unaddressed trauma and emotional like baggage, right? And so when I was coming in, I was kind of like I am steady, right? That's who I am. I'm like not too far up, not too far down. I weather the storm. I'm good in a crisis. I blah blah blah. But like it was because I was detached, and I was like sort of like keeping myself up here. So I was like sending everything through my brain first, right? And I feel like I've had like Lynn like helped and pushed and everything like that, but like to really kind of like lean into how to communicate in those little bits and lean into like how to ask for help and make yourself vulnerable and things like that. And like it still is like, for me, asking for help still is kind of like, when you got to go to the gym but you don't want to go, but you kind of like force yourself out of the chair and like now you got momentum, you're gonna go do it. I'm like, can I still have some like a little help, or whatever to like do this, or I'm feeling this kind of way or whatever. And it's not a natural path, or like it's not an unnatural path, but it's not been my path, for it. And I think that the way like with her encouragement and patience, and I think I've figured out like more and more that like I owe it to myself and I owe it to her, that like we're raising 2 young kids right now, and like the challenges come at you fast and furious, because you're like, this kid's tantruming, this kid's not doing great, this kid's doing great, I'm busy, I'm tired, you slept last night, I didn't sleep last night, like that sort of thing. It all comes fast. And so like trying to figure out how to like communicate it in little bits, so I can be like, I need this thing, you need this thing, I'm feeling this way, you're feeling that way, and like really kind of like take it as it comes, rather than kind of like let it build up over time. I think has been a really big lesson for me.
Man, you guys are talking about the fine art of staying married, of managing the relationship. Okay, here's my question. When does your partner make you the most angry?
They're gonna watch this, right?
Yeah. When does your partner make you the most angry, and how do you deal with it? Okay, wait, I'm gonna go. Okay, there's 2 situations. When I'm in the kitchen and my wife comes in and cooks on top of me, right? That's one. And then when I'm driving and she starts backseat driving, go this way, go that way. Oh, I get so angry, right? Now, I need to say this. I don't want either one of those situations to stop, because if she stops giving me advice, right, a lot of good things go with it, right? I just want to manage my damn behavior. I don't want to be mad when she does it. She's not doing that across the board. It's only in 2 situations, and I'm already aware of it. So I should be able to stay calm. So that's my big deal. It's probably not gonna never change. Sometimes I turn the wrong way just to hear her start squawking, right? When I'm driving. But it's
You
probably not gonna ever go away.
don't be saying squawking. Don't be squawking. You be talking. It ain't squawking. Come on, Julia.
Now, I got to be careful. Yes, thank you, but I got to be careful in those situations. It's not about her. It's about me. It's about my, if you got one problem, you got 2. You got the thing that's happening, and then you got what you think about the thing that's happening. And that's often worse than the problem I got. My reaction. I'm trying to stay married, you guys.
I like to go, man. One of the things, and it's been on for quite some time. Is time management. When it's time to go, when it's time to be somewhere, we got somewhere to trying to be at 2, and it's 1:30, and you kind of dragging your feet, and it's like you're not even engaging for traffic, time, parking. We'll get there at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock if we're not careful. So what I've improved, is just communicating and not, kind of just snapping at her with the time. But just know that that's important, right? And then she's gotten better, and she's coming back to me and realized, hey, I'm getting better with my time, you know. But it took a while for her to surrender. She's like, I get there, when I get there, and I'm going to the place, I'm embarrassed. I can't find a seat, I can't find a park, I can't do none of this. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, she realized why. You know, that extra time, now we got good parking, we got good seating, we're not stressed, got the traffic, you know, all of that stuff, it matters to me. You know, so those are some of the things that, but I'm not so bad. She's got better. And I got it. So that's good.
I'm not gonna say anger, because anger seems such like a harsh word when you say anger. I would say we had our most heated arguments, or he most irritated me when we were raising kids, because I was the firecracker. I'm the one, you know, was laying down these hands on the kids to make sure they did what they had to do. He was more patient. And so when he would try to interfere or stand in the middle while I'm trying to throw these hands on them boys, you know, I would get mad, because when you're in the heat of it, you know, you don't want nobody stopping in the middle to stop you from disciplining your child or disciplining the children. That's when we were younger. And so we were able to understand by the third one, you need to leave the house. Let me handle this. And he called, you finished? Yeah, I'm finished. You can come back now. But now that we're older, I just say the anger probably turned into a little bit of irritation. And I get irritated when I'm finally down watching my show and he want to ask me all these questions. Did you do the tax things yet? Did you remember that? We've been talking like 18 times a day while I'm trying to focus in on this love and hip hop something. Let me watch my little show, because I don't get to watch them. So I wouldn't say anger at this age and with all these years invested. And I think I can look at him or he can look at me and we just like, all right, you know, we give each other the head nod or have this special kind of look. But it doesn't, I think after years of being invested, it's no longer anger. It may be a little bit of irritation, because anger just seems like and my husband, he's so nice. It just seemed like I couldn't be angry. But when you dealing with kids and, you know, the teacher calling and, you know, husband doesn't understand that I went to the school and he taking their side and now I'm mad. But with time and understanding and communication, like, you know, we ain't gonna do this in front of the kids kind of thing, it gets easier. And so for those of you that haven't had as much time vested, wait, it's coming. The easy days are coming when y'all gonna just be able to blink and the other person is gonna understand what that blink means. When that head not coming, babe, it's time to go. So he'll see me across the room and do one of these. They say, oh, your husband giving you a look. Oh, he telling me to go. He happy. That's one of them happy nods. So it's just kind of like when you put in the time and you can read each other. You know, you can read the language, and it's no longer anger. It just comes with a little bit of irritation, but I wouldn't call it anger.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in there. This is Maurice. Yeah, I got for me, for anger, it's no benefits in anger. My experience. You know, you coming from a full-blown anger, you know, I used to go from 0 to 1,000. You know what I'm talking about? That's where I'm from. I'm one of those, 0 to 1,000. And through my experience in getting older, it's just no benefits in getting angry. And but what bothers me with her is because, you know, Joe, you know where I come from. You know, I'm doing a good job with that part. It's her, you know, and if she was right here with me, I'll tell you right in her face. It's her with the anger issues. I've worked on my anger. What makes me angry or irritated, like she said, is when I tell her to stop yelling at me and she just can't stop yelling. That's what makes me angry. You know, the women, you know, just can't stop talking. You know, they told us about timeouts. Yeah, the women, some of you know, my wife, I want to talk about my wife. My wife, Julie know my wife well. Everybody know my wife, you know. Julie, you know my wife too, and you know my wife likes to talk. And I'll be like, baby, could you just please stop talking? Just, you know, let's stop talking. And for the life of me, for the life of her, she just cannot stop talking. So anybody on the podcast that's out there on YouTube or whatever, if a man is asking you to please stop talking, let's talk about this later. Let's take a time out. Please try to take a time out because it helps both of you guys. Man. So that's what it is to me. It's just she can't stop talking, man. And, it kills me.
I don't think I don't think that's just a female thing. I think that goes both ways. I think that comes from
both ways.
It's a two-way thing because sometimes us women don't want to hear y'all talking. And so, I guess you got to understand each other's language when you really mean it. I think, you could probably say it in authority or with that tone, we can be like, you serious now kind of thing. Then you leave you alone. But sometimes we're processing stuff internally. And when a person says it in that way to not lead to anger, just give him 50 feet. Come back and I give Ed like 3 minutes. He got 3 minutes to get it together. So I'm coming right back and get on the couch with you. But yeah, hey, I'm relentless for real. If I want to cuddle, I don't care if you're mad or he's gonna be on you at the end of the night. I'll be freezing. He be, why you coming in here with your feet on? Cause that's your job. When I'm y'all men laughing because y'all know that's what we do. We come into bed nice. We be that cold, Frank.
Oh my God. Stop this.
And the cold feet is an angry issue too.
Hey, one of the things about this though that I want to make sure that, and I think we get this, is that in these relationships we have rupture and repair. And so we had these situations, and then how do you repair it? I do get angry, right? And this anger, it ain't irritation, it's anger. And that's my responsibility to control that. That's not her responsibility. I need to know what situations bring that up for me and control it. It's not her fault that, other people can go through the same thing and they don't get angry. What is it about me that makes me angry in this situation? That's my responsibility. And I learned that from you guys because that's how you stay married.
I'll say one of the things that pops out, for me is, I think there's like a funny meme out there or something like that says like, there's two types of people in the world: the people who know how to load a dishwasher and the people who don't, and they get married to each other. And I think that's like, there's just a lot, there's a lot of balance, right? In terms of like Lynn is hella extroverted, right? She would be out there doing stuff all the time, stuff like that, and I am not that person. I need my quiet, I need a little bit of space, I need to process things or whatever, but I'm better when I'm with her out doing things, and she's probably a little better when she's taking a seat, kind of reflecting with me a little bit, with it. But I think for us, there was a pattern for me, I was kind of in that kind of straw that broke the camel's back kind of pattern, right? Where, because we're different, we have those kinds of conflicts that pop up, right? And I think for me, for a long time, what I wasn't doing is sort of leaning in and being like, oh, I actually need a half a day, over the weekend. I need a half a day each day, or some kind of break in here to make it happen. I just kind of I'm going to be a good partner. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to do this. We're going to figure this out. We're going to blah, 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 blah. And then 2 months later, I'm mad and angry and irritated with her because I am not taking the time to be I actually need this thing, right? Because we're different, and I need a little space, every night I gotta put the dishes away. I want to start the dishwasher because I can feel staying in the morning, right? But I think when I didn't do that, I every time it's a little paper cut, that sort of built up over time, and rather than sort of leaning into it, and then I'd be upset over something that was stupid to her because it wasn't about the thing, and then when I was upset, then she'd be upset because I'm coming out of the blue, for her, right? And we really had to kind of lean in and kind of understand what the nature of that conflict was. And so I'll be angry over something stupid because it wasn't about the thing,
where you all have me nodding my head. No, I'm not, you see me nodding my head. Oh gosh, there's so much wisdom here. And I think that that there are some things that we only learn by being in it. You know, and marriage is an in it kind of relationship. Yeah, and if it's going to be done, then we have to be in it. And that there's, somebody said investment, somebody said work, and it's all of that. So I think that that the conflicts that me and my husband have, like they feel minor now compared to what they used to be. And like Samantha was saying, no, I think they're like different degrees. Like people can start off wrathful, you know, and I started off very critical, negatively critical in my spirit, not so much verbally, but in myself, inside, in my inner person, I was very critical of him. And so my mine was like a low resentment about what he wasn't doing right. And it could be something of how he cleaned or like maybe he didn't kiss me enough or something, you know, it could be anything, you know, like that wasn't good enough for me, for me. Right. So, so once I realized that, that Angela needs to work on Angela more and show more appreciation, you know, for my spouse, and that there's a way, right, to get what I want in a relationship. Like there's a way, and women, we can have a way, right, that's helpful, and there's a way that's not helpful. And that's true for guys too, or, you know, for whoever, right? But I learned how to get what I want for the most part. I don't have everything I want, but for the most part in helpful ways. And so somebody spoke to communication. So, well, women tend to have a lot of words. Men may have fewer words, but they know how to say what they want to say too. That gets under the skin with those few words. And women, we can get under the skin with a lot of words, right? And we keep on going with it, you know, to Mo's point. There is some truth to that, although I balked at it for a moment, because, you know, we can't, you know, not all of either group or whoever, you know, it's the same, but you know, there are some stereotypes that are like, have some truth to them. You know, so there's one situation, and it doesn't come up anymore like that. But when it does come up, you know, I'm able to stop it, like before he gets too upset and doesn't want to talk, you know, or I start feeling irritated on the inside, right? So like if we have a disagreement, let's say over finances, right? We have a miscommunication about money, and I asked him to do something and he didn't do it the way I wanted him to do it, or he forgot a point. That was a source of irritation for me, like an enduring issue over our relationship. There's all kinds of enduring issues in people's relationships. And this one was one for me. So what I would do was keep talking, like Mo said, right? And then he would get frustrated and shut down, right? And then I would continue to engage him, try to engage him and addressing it, because I didn't want him to shut down. I wanted to get to the solution. I wanted him to stay with it until it's resolved, and then we could go on to something else. So I had to learn, right, to like stop talking at that moment and say, you know, can we come back to this? You know, even come back to this in an hour, you know, a couple hours, whatever, right? And I changed the station with him and go on and talk about some other things. No, I would drop it and go and talk about other stuff, right? Because we have a whole complex relationship here. My relationship with him is not all about this one thing, right? So I would literally go talk about other stuff, you know, whether it's something benign like TV or make a joke or whatever. And then we would come right back to the discussion. He was calm, right? And we can address it and we can move forward, right? That's what I've learned to do after all this time. Because I do have a lot more words than him. But I've learned to like not use my words in a way that communicates to him that he's not smart, or he's not Right, because I think, we could do that. I could do that. I did that. So, or he's not wise. No, I value, his contributions much more now than I did in the first 7 years, 5 years of my marriage. But I had to work on Angela to get to that point. So I think I'll stop there.
So unless somebody else wants to go, I got another question. How do you show your partner kindness? How do you show them kindness? Or just like what kind of kind gestures do you use?
I think for me, I show him that I'm kind, physical, being physical, touching. He likes me to rub right up in here somewhere, right before he goes to bed. Or he's really happy when he comes home and he smells food. Even though I work from home, sometimes I don't have the time, and then I leave from my work desk here all day. I go straight to my boot camp, and Gerald, I don't get any free time. I work for PG&E, so I'm really watching on sitting at my computer. So it's not because I work at home all day. I have access to cook and all that, but the 3 days that I do, he comes home and his energy is just like through the roof. And so for him, I think that shows him that I'm thinking about him, right? And then when I come back, and it only take like the baby head, and you just rub that little part right there, he'd be out in 2 minutes. So I'll go on and give him that little head rub. And I think the kindness piece, I think it's getting out of self and making him, the point of my intention, the point of, giving Ed, making Ed feel wanted and needed and appreciated, because he does so much for me, right? And so when I'm not running and just stop and just do him, I think for me, he appreciates that and takes that as a point of kindness. So guys, y'all can help me. Y'all can let me know if that's something. I never asked him that, but I just think he shows me like, babe, you did that. That food was good. I be saying, you just want me to start cooking more often. But you guys, fellas, let me know if that resonates with your spirit as a sense of kindness.
Hey, it resonates with me. I make a big plate of food, right? That's why I don't want her in the kitchen. I don't necessarily want her to see what I'm cooking. And then I take her to plate and I take my plate to her and let her eat off of it first. And I'm a caveman. I'm territorial. That's kind to me. I let you eat my food. But she gets it though.
Yes, I'd like to go next while I'm thinking about it. So I think that I've learned how to internalize and show unconditional love to my husband, regardless of where I am in my development and where he is in his development, and our different personalities and our quirks. I've learned to show him unconditional regard. And and I do that in a lot of different ways. So I've started in how I'm thinking about him as a person, and complimenting him and in my thoughts, and to other people, and publicly, privately in my conversations with other people. And when I tell him that I've said something, he really appreciates that. So that I'm talking about him in kind ways. Also, I'm very physical. I've always been very physical with my husband. He likes his physical touch, and I'm generous, unabashedly generous. And, and I cook and I clean. I try to keep myself up physically, and I try to talk to him even when we're upset or having some kind of disagreement in a way that's respectful. So I never call him out of his name, never called him names. I thought him in my head though, especially during those first 7 years. Mark laughing. I did. So I had a lot of work on myself to do. So so it is work. It's individual and it's collective. And so I think I try to be kind, unconditionally, regardless of what's going on in our relationship. For the most part, there's never been any like domestic violence, with us. And I have zero tolerance for that. So I would have to be in a separate space. But I would still be kind in not returning it unless I'm trying to defend myself. And that's good for me to defend myself if it's sensible to do so in that moment. It might be just I need to flee, and I think it's kind for me to be assertive with myself, because he can't read my thoughts. So I need to be assertive with my words and and let him know what my boundaries are. I think that's kind too.
Yeah, I'll speak on that, Gerald. Yeah, for me to be kindness on my wife is when she do something to irritate me, I don't say nothing. And for some people they think that's not the thing to do, but for me, that's kind. You know what I'm talking about? When I know, I'm talking about when I know you was wrong. I'm talking about when when I could have when I could say I told you so, I don't. That's being kind. I'm talking about just and it's just from experience. Not saying the first thing that come to my mind is being kind. I'm talking about keeping my side of the street clean. That's what I do. I'm talking about, and I'm not perfect, but I'm doing a good job. I'm talking about, I'm doing a good job, man. I don't say everything that my head tell me to. And that's with everything. That's just some of the practice and some of the work that I've done on myself. I know my first response is not the right response. The devil is the first reaction in any time in me. I'm talking about, and so I sit and be patient, and stay still, man, and then I let the presence of God come out, man. Because the head will tell you to do anything, and so that's how I be kind to my wife, and not just, and this not just to your wife. I mean, just to human beings, Joe. Just being kind, man. The first word is not always the right word, even when you can get somebody like that. That's what I found out, because I don't want nobody to get me. Doing to others as others doing to you, and that's the way I roll, man. And it's been working. It's been working, man. So anybody out there that got some issues or trying to stay in relationships, always think about, is this going to help if I say this? Even though she's wrong, even though they're wrong, is it going to help? I'm talking about, that's what I do to be kind. I think about my words before I speak them.
Okay, so let
All
me give you a definition of what kindness is, because I'm not sure if I understand you saying you're holding words back to be kind to your wife. That ain't something I can feel or touch, you holding something back. Kindness is the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. So I would think like my husband showing me an action, not withholding a reaction, but showing me an action would be considered kindness. I understand, Mo, that you can go 0 to 1,000, but I would be thinking that kindness would be going out of your way to make me feel a way, not holding something back so that I won't feel the wrath of what your first word was.
I get it though. I get it.
Yeah, well, I understand. Well, that's let me answer the question. So that's two different kindnesses. So I'm talking about in the general form of being married, to my wife. I buy my wife roses. I take care of my wife. I do all the kindness things that you're talking about. And so when you the definition of kindness, you said being considerate.
Yeah.
So
That is
not
considerate, Mo.
speaking my mind is being
Yeah.
considerate, so you can take that part of that definition, but I understand what you're saying. It's just two different, it's more than one. In any definition, it's more than one answer to it, so just being considerate of your words, in that
Yeah.
context,
Yeah.
because, some of us, that's what marriage and men and women relationships for me is all about words, and not because I've given women everything and they still spit on me. You know what I'm talking about? I done bought this, I done that, I done this, I've done that, I done gave you this, I done gave you that, and they'll still cuss you out in a minute. So I've know how to be kind and giving and considerate, but I'm just talking about far as the longevity of kindness in the marriage that I go through.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So you understand me now, babe?
I get it. That's why we have
Hey.
this conversation.
Hey,
I
Yes.
appreciate that.
I think Frank wanted to say something. Go ahead. Thank you guys too. Come on, Frank.
Thanks,
You
Tony.
you muted. You muted, Frank.
Yeah, what I've learned, is to be aware of my wife when she's having a rough time or a rough day. One thing she likes, you know what I mean, is her feet rub. I see the smile on her face every time that happens. As far as it just shows attention. Also, just being able to just spend time as kind or doing what she likes to do. And just having an open mind and just going with the flow. Sometimes, and then just being at peace without any type of conflicts, or just watching a movie and stuff like that. And those are some of the things that just the simple things. Now, like you said, different chapters as we get older. A lot of that stuff doesn't mean as much as it once did back in the day. But now it's more like, let's be at peace and let's be content. And that's part of also being kind as well. You don't have to do a whole lot just to be happy.
Amen.
Hey,
Amen.
you know,
Yeah,
like,
I'm gonna
go ahead, Chris.
piggyback off of that. I know for me, I know my wife, she loves giving gifts, right? That's her love language. So giving and receiving gifts is her love language. So just doing little things for her, bringing roses home. I know over the pandemic, we used to get into it around me working from home and the house not being as clean as she wanted it to be. So making sure that I'm cleaning the house so that when she get home, everything is good. Even though I'm trying to tell her I'm working an 8-hour job, taking the time out on my lunch time or my break time to actually get down there, bust some suds or vacuum the floor, things like that. I think she really appreciates that. From time to time, I'm not the best cook. I'll go in the kitchen and dabble a little bit. She appreciates that when she gets home. Things like that. I guess you can say for us. So she works for Caltrans, and she does a very physical and demanding laborer's job. So she comes home and so sometimes she's beat, having the bath water drawn for her, just things like to make sure I pick up the kids from daycare and getting them situated and things like that, just things that I know that she does on a day-to-day basis on top of the work, right? And just appreciating her, let her know that, this is a little token of my appreciation for what you do for us and for our family.
That's a good one.
Hey, you know what? Underappreciated thing, and this is for me that I didn't appreciate, is I need to hang out with good men, right? I don't really have a problem. I thought I had a problem with women, but really I had a problem because I didn't really hang around with good men and people that could like help me be a better man. Like the guys I got on this video right now, you guys are giants. You guys help me be a better person and help me be kinder, kinder to not only my wife, but myself, better to myself. I watch you guys, what you guys are doing, how you do things. You have had a great amount of influence on me. You do. That's why I invited you. It's not an accident. You guys have helped me do some stuff, become a better person. That's kind. My wife worries about me. She don't have to worry about me like that, but she still worries. I'm in good hands. So that's being kind, where your partner doesn't have to worry about you all damn day. So anyway, anybody want to say anything else?
I just want to say I appreciate this conversation. It gives some perspective on how men think, and what's in your mind. I use my husband as my lens into understanding a way, but it's not his way of thinking, may not be another person's way of thinking. So Mo, I appreciate you coming back to reiterate. I think I get it. The kindness, being considerate and being thought provoking before, like you said, before you speak. You kind of hold it in because you don't want to hurt somebody's feeling. You don't want them. So that is the actual form of kindness, which I need sometimes, not in my marriage, but a lot of times just dealing with people in the public. Because Gerald will tell you at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not always at my best. I'm not always my most kindest self, walking into the gym, having to deal with 8 people that don't really want to work out at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. So I need to make sure that I exhibit kindness by holding back that tongue and being more gentle, and more alert of what could come out if I don't take the time to be kind in my thoughts and how somebody else is going to feel about it. So I thank you guys for that, and I also thank Gerald for having this type of forum available, because I think a lot of times people want to see real examples of what marriage looks like. Because if I'm dealing with all the younger folks, like the millennials, they call me auntie, and they're always like, how y'all do it? Because these dudes get on my nerve. I'm like, oh, he used to get on my nerve too. But they want to know the ins and outs. They're seeking for answers. They want to know that what me and Ed has now wasn't always like this, and how we got through those storms. Everybody's not honest about those storms. And I think us being where we are now in these marriages, we have to go back and be examples and reach back to those younger folks to show them that marriage do exist, that you don't have to drop it or cancel somebody because it didn't work out today. Because just like it's raining today, tomorrow it's going to be sunshine. But you got to work through those rainy days, work through getting up that hill. Because once you get up that hill, you're strengthened for the long haul. And so I'm just saying to the panel, thank you guys. And just make sure our work here in our work with our marriages is not just for our marriages, because we're going to be living examples to others that it is possible. And so thank you, Gerald.
Hey, the last time I was with you, Mo, that's what I heard you say. We got to be seen doing stuff that's attractive. Right?
Let me
that was
add
inspiring.
This.
Go ahead, Chris.
Let me add this, being probably one of the youngest and not just in age, but in marriage. One of the things before I got married was that I seen so many bad marriages that I hesitated just based on that. And so to see this panel together and to hear the different roles that each couple has taken to build a successful marriage, right? There are many books out there, but there's not a book on your marriage, right? Because nobody can talk to you about you, right? And you have to learn how to develop with your particular partner. And so I think one of the biggest things is just understanding that there's so many different ways to build a successful marriage, the way that's going to, best fit for you and your partner. And so I appreciate just hearing the stories and hearing why you got married, what were some of the struggles, and what were some of the challenges. I typically try to learn based off other people's mistakes, so that I don't, fall in some of the same pit holes. And I think this is going to be a great platform, and I'm hoping and praying that, a lot of people see this and reevaluate themselves if they're ready for marriage, or what are some of the things they need to work on before they get married. So I want to thank the panel, thank Gerald for this. This has been fantastic. I'm probably going to rewatch it just to, take some more notes and stuff like that. So, but thank you for allowing me to be a participant.
I'll offer a quick reflection, and this is like sort of in the spirit of like learning, like others learning from people's mistakes. I think if you think about sort of the love languages, right? Like one is that there's like acts of service, right? So like I'm going to do things for you, and at one point I just remember sort of catching myself, well, catching myself and my wife catching me as well, where where it was like I was doing things. It was like because like I'm the cleaner, like for the most part in the house, right? So I was doing things where like acts of service, where I was like I was cleaning up the kitchen for you, I was cleaning up the living room for you, I was cleaning up those things, and it was like, I realized I was like, oh, like I'm doing things I think are nice things, but they're nice things for me, or like from my perception of what is nice, right, or helpful, or kind, or like like that sort of thing. And so I was in it thinking I am being kind, like, because I'm doing a thing that is nice and objectively nice because that's just my frame, right? And realized it's like I needed to shift to think about sort of like I'm going to lean into like scheduling more social things. I'm going to lean into like being sort of like, sort of in this place or in this way. But I think it's like one of those things that I think it's easy to get caught up in your own perception about what is like sort of objectively nice or what have you, when like it's not actually for them, it's like for you in a way, right?
I think when we care about people, we can fall into a trap of caring for them in a way that's good for us and not necessarily good for them. So thank you, Mark, for bringing that up. Right? Yeah, I need to make sure that when I'm kind, and I'm being kind in a way. It's like a currency, right? I got to have the right currency. Like we don't take pesos in the United States. We take dollars. So when I'm dealing with my wife, she wants something different maybe than what I have, right? So anyway, I appreciate you guys talking about this. Um, Chris got to step away for a minute, but that's okay. Thank you, Chris, for being here. We're about to wrap up anyway. Anybody want to say anything before we go?
I wanted to say thank you also for allowing me to be here. Uh, and I'm glad that I made it. I'm glad I figured out how to be here this evening. And I want to say that that Mark brought up a very good point, that since I'm a separate person from my husband. We're not twins. Identical twins, and even identical twins have a few differences. And so I think a lot of problems that I've had, and that I've noticed as a therapist that my couples tend to have, is that we do tend to look or judge each other, or try to find solutions based on what we think and our perceptions of what is right, and not being considerate of the other person. I think that's what Mark is talking about also. I know the love languages, and my love language is different from my husband's. The orders are different. And so our priorities, or how we like look at, sense or feel loved, is different. So it was very hard for me to learn to speak his language in the beginning. And it was challenging for him to speak mine. And we had to like learn some new words, so to speak, new phrases, and some of the culture of the language over time, because I wanted to understand him and he wants to understand me. And we have like different levels with that for sure, but I see the effort, right? I see the effort, and I think that matters. What you think, Mark? Because I think that's important, a point where we get in trouble, just focusing on ourselves so much, and our perceptions of what's right. Oh, I was right. Well, people think a little differently about stuff, yeah, well, their needs are different or expressed differently.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah. And I think that what Mo was saying, was that Mo? That was a good point too. I mean, everybody had good points, but my mind is focusing on what he said about like holding back. And I think there's a scripture that even says that, don't hear everything that the birdie carries to your ears, or something like that in Proverbs. We're not supposed to like respond to everything, but there are some things, to Samantha's point, that we need to respond to. And so like finding this balance of like when to hold back, when to step up, that's important too, according to the relationship. I'm learning that with him. I've learned a lot, but I'm sure I still have some more learning to do.
hey, you guys know on a note related to this, the Harvard 20-year study of happiness is coming out, and the results are coming in. And they're saying it's three things: exercise, sound, deep learning, and relationships may lead to happiness. Those three things lead to happiness. So I'm going to encourage us all to keep doing what we've been doing that's working, right? You keep yourself strong so you can keep your relationship strong, right? Keep doing what we've been doing. And then I guess that's it, huh? Thank you guys for joining me. Right.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for having the ladies here too. It was good always. And one of the things I want to, on a note, I want to leave with the people also is we got a support group that's real tight knit. You know what I'm talking about, Gerald? You know, everybody know each other and all that stuff. And one of the things that I have to do is I have to stay humble. You know what I'm talking about? I have to stay humble, man, before I become humiliated. And that's always the goal with my wife. I always want my wife to talk good stuff about me. And you know, one of the things that we talk about around here, people talk about I don't care what you think about me. And that's not my story no more. I actually care about what everybody think about me, and I care about what other people what my wife can tell other people about me. You know what I'm talking about? So I act accordingly, man. So thank you for having me, man. It's been a beautiful, beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you for, letting me be on this platform as well, Gerald. I appreciate everybody on the panel. I learned a lot and got a lot of information, and I appreciate it. I want you guys to have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, nice to meet
hear
you.
everybody's voice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
Be
Pleasure
good.
to meet y'all. Thank
Even
you so
Miss
much.
Julie is not here. Yes.
God bless.
Right on, you guys.
All right.
Take
All right,
care.
Samantha.
Good night,
Samantha,
Mark,
tell Ed Mo
Samantha,
said
Mo,
what's
Bye,
up,
y'all.
baby.
Frank,
All right, take care.
everybody. Gerald,
Peace out.
peace out.
Mo, we got to schedule a date. We got to do a date. So
Is
I'll
it
let you
right?
and Ed figure that out.